3-6 of the Trump administration as we watch the mounting partisan attacks on what many see as the nation's crown jewel in law enforcement. It's an effort that seems to be launched and timed to discredit the Russia investigation, if not the investigator. Just a few hours ago, FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe left Capitol Hill after a second day of lengthy, closed-door interviews, this time with members of the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees. Republicans on the Hill have been focusing on whether there is political bias against the president within the FBI. It's a kind of loyalty test, and they've been targeting McCabe, who's been involved in several recent investigations, including the one into Hillary Clinton's private email server. Earlier tonight, California Congressman Adam Schiff, the lead Democrat on House Intel, talked about what he views as the Republicans' obsession with McCabe.
They're focused on Mr. McCabe because they see him as an opportunity to, again, try to tear at the FBI, tear at the investigation, tear at Bob Mueller. If they can just discredit the FBI, then maybe they can get the country to ignore what Bob Mueller finds, or worse, they can get the country to go along with the firing of Bob Mueller.
And the House Oversight top Democrat Elijah Cummings of Maryland said this on his way into today's committee interviews with Andrew McCabe.
To the press, I beg you to get it right because you are recording this history. You got to get it right. This is a fight for the soul of our democracy, nothing less. And so I'm going to work hard to make sure we save that democracy, and I will fight until I die. CIA criticized, FBI criticized over and over and over again. Now the rumors, and I hope that that's all they are, of Mueller possibly being fired. I hope that's not true. But those are the kinds of things that tear down a democracy because they are the very things that a democracy is based upon. And I say to all Americans, and I beg you, to guard this democracy. Guard it. I'm done.
Kind of emotional words from a veteran member of the House that got our attention today. For their part, the White House continues to maintain that Mueller and this Russia investigation are safe.
We have no intentions of firing Bob Mueller. We're continuing to work closely and cooperate with him. We look forward to seeing this hoax wrap up very soon. We think that it is just further evidence that the Democrats have no plan. They have no agenda. They have nothing to talk to about other than attacking this president.
Amid all of this, exclusive new reporting today from our own NBC News colleagues Ken Dilanian, Tom Winter, and Pete Williams confirms that, quote, on the orders of Attorney General Jeff Sessions, Justice Department prosecutors have begun asking FBI agents to explain the evidence they found in a now dormant criminal investigation into a controversial uranium deal that critics have linked to Bill and Hillary Clinton. At issue is a 2010 transaction in which the Obama administration allowed the sale of U.S. uranium mining facilities to Russia's State Atomic Energy Company. Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State at the time, and the State Department was one of 9 agencies that agreed to approve the deal after finding no threat to the United States' national security. And as we try to do every time this subject of Uranium One comes up, here now a re-airing of the definitive takedown, the most complete debunking of this Clinton conspiracy theory, as delivered by Shepard Smith of Fox News.
Here's the accusation. 9 people involved in the deal made donations to the Clinton Foundation totaling more than $140 million. In exchange, Secretary of State Clinton approved the sale to the Russians. A quid pro quo. The accusation is predicated on the charge that Secretary Clinton approved the sale. She did not. A committee of 9 evaluated the sale. The president approved the sale. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission and others had to offer permits, and none of the uranium was exported for use by the U.S. to Russia. That is Uranium One.
Shepard Smith of Fox News brings us to our leadoff panel for a Thursday night. Ken Dilanian, NBC News intelligence and national security reporter. Jill Wine-Banks, attorney, former assistant Watergate special counsel, and an MSNBC legal analyst. And Ken Vogel, political reporter for the New York Times. Welcome to you all. Ken, I'd like to begin with you. Can you explain to our audience the genesis of this intense interest in McCabe, and what about it reflects, in your view, the view of others perhaps, just partisanship?
Are you talking to Ken Dilanian?
I'm sorry. I knew we were leading into a first segment with two Kens. Ken Vogel of the New York Times, Mr. Dilanian, I'm getting to you in a moment.
Very good. Sure. This is, as you sort of suggested in your intro, Brian, the interest in McCabe is part of an effort to discredit the FBI as a whole. And the goal seems to be more about discrediting and undermining Bob Mueller and the special counsel's investigation. We see this, a number of prongs in this effort, including highlighting these text messages between these FBI agents that spoke critically of Donald Trump. We see this in questioning McCabe. We even see this in the Uranium One, the reviving of the Uranium One investigation, which seems to be less about getting to the bottom of the actual substance of this Uranium One deal and more about questioning the FBI's handling of it. And, of course, we see it in the questions about Mueller himself and Mueller's team, highlighting donations that members of Mueller's team gave to Democrats. It's all an effort to lay the groundwork for either firing Mueller, which seems unlikely at this point, or more likely to lay the groundwork for undercutting any findings that he may have that are critical of Donald Trump. And you see this working in some ways. You see polls showing that Republican voters are amenable to the idea of firing. Some polls show that they are amenable to the idea of firing Mueller and that they are suspicious of the Russia investigation. And interestingly, right now, Donald Trump has this tremendous reservoir of goodwill among both the House and Senate Republicans who would be the ones who would potentially block the firing or would react in an aggressive way to the firing of Bob Mueller. Now they're on his side with the passage of his tax bill in a way that we haven't seen before. So that is causing concern among Democrats that this is all an effort to pave the way for in some way undermining or pushing out Bob Mueller.
Now, Mr. Ken Dilanian of NBC News, join us in listening to a snippet from the president from about a month ago. We'll talk about it on the other side.
You want to look at Hillary Clinton. I'm really not involved with the Justice Department. I'd like to let it run itself. But honestly, they should be looking at the Democrats. They should be looking at a lot of things. And a lot of people are disappointed in the Justice Department, including me.
So, Ken Dilanian, this dovetails into your exclusive reporting today. The Clintons are back, and back in a big way.
Yeah, that's right, Brian. What we reported today is that the FBI agent who spent some time investigating this Uranium One matter, including the confluence of contributions to the Clinton Foundation, have been questioned in recent weeks by Justice Department prosecutors as part of an effort by the Sessions Justice Department to take another look at this case. And they're explicitly doing it because House Republicans asked them to. And in a letter last month to House Republicans, a senior Justice Department official said, yes, we're going to look at whether the concerns you are raising in this Uranium One matter and the Clinton email case and some other things merit a special prosecutor. Now, the question really, Brian, is Jeff Sessions doing this as a defensive maneuver to sort of mollify House Republicans and say, yeah, I took a look at this and no, we're not going to have a special prosecutor? Or is this a serious effort to reopen an investigation that never went anywhere? And as Shepard Smith said in that clip you played, there is really no evidence whatsoever that we have found of any impropriety, any wrongdoing, any threat to national security. If you see a reopening of a criminal investigation in this matter, that will raise a host of questions, Brian, and cause a lot of concerns.
Jill Wine-Banks, I've been assured you are the only Jill Wine-Banks on our opening panel tonight. I can't speak for the others later in the broadcast, but is there a danger here, really, Jill, beyond wasted time, wasted money, and this continued cleft of partisanship? Do you think this effort is working? Do you think this effort is really hurting, A, the investigation, B, Robert Mueller?
I think it is. And the reason I say that is that one of the reasons that Watergate was so successful was that the American people Democrats and Republicans and members of Congress on both sides of the aisle actually accepted what we found. They trusted us. And if you have an attack that is meant to show that the investigators and the prosecutors are somehow not to be trusted, then you can't believe the results of it. So even with dramatic evidence that may result, and even though, I mean, Sarah Huckabee Sanders said a hoax today, how can you say it's a hoax when there are 4 defendants, 2 of whom have already pled guilty? That's not a hoax. That's a real investigation. So I am concerned. Now, I know, just based on my Twitter followers, that most Americans are not believing it. But the followers of Donald Trump definitely believe that Mueller cannot be trusted and that the investigation isn't trustworthy. So that is a serious threat to our democracy and to the rule of law.